So today I'm going to be showing you how I analyze the data inside of my ad accounts. And this is super important because myself included, a lot of people who teach marketing, teach paid advertising, they'll have certain rules when it comes to analyzing accounts, turning off losing ads, and scaling winners, right? Rules around test for a certain amount of days. If your CPL is higher than this number, then turn it off. If your CPL is lower than this number, then keep it running, etc., etc. And those rules are good as a baseline. But what I've found is that the best media buyers, we have an intuitive power or sense when it comes to data. And that only really comes with experience of advertising, experience of media buying, but experience of that account as well, the actual ads manager, experience of the offer and the market. And what that leads to is situations where, if you follow the rules that are set, then you should turn stuff off. But as a media buyer, when I'm managing the account, sometimes I just have this inner feeling or gut knowing or intuitive sense, I don't know what you freaking call it, where I'm going to leave it on. And that stuff you really can't teach because sometimes it doesn't make logical sense. Or sometimes, maybe, again, there's not always rules to play by, but if I see maybe my cost per lead or my CPA is higher than it should be and I should technically turn it off, if I have a look at the other data, the click-through rate, the cost per click, something like the secondary metrics, I might look at those and think, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to keep running this ad. And again, sometimes it doesn't fully make logical sense. So what I'm going to do in this video, and I've not looked at the account today, I'm just going to run through me analyzing the data for you. Now, the cool thing is that this account, like I mentioned in the previous video, is brand new. So there's not a ton of data, and for people who are looking to learn this for the first time, it shouldn't be super overwhelming as I go through it. You can watch the previous videos where I run through this account to have more context on what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to do more of these videos. I suppose I've been kind of forced into it a little bit because I use a Canon N50 camera to usually film the YouTube videos where I'm like face the camera, and then I'll use OBS to record myself, then I'll do a screen share. But with the new Mac OS update, the software basically from Canon that allowed me to use it as a webcam doesn't work with the new Mac update. So that's why I've not been posting those regular YouTube videos as much over the past couple of weeks, because I can't doing the same way that I filmed. There's probably a solution. I've tried to find a solution. I can't figure it out. So I'm like, okay, what different type of content can I film? And although this type of content, this flow of this video, it's not going to go viral. It's not going to, get a ton of views. But I think this type of content might or will be actually more valuable than, me ranting at the camera sometimes. So yeah, a couple of things. Number one, if you've experienced the same thing with the update of the Mac OS, I don't know what you call it. It's 14 point something, and your Canon camera is no longer working, and you found a solution, then let me know in the comments, because I just don't have the mental bandwidth or the energy or the time or even the motivation to try and figure out a solution. I've tried and failed multiple times over the past week, so now I'm just rolling with it. And if you do like this content and you get value from it, then I would appreciate you sharing it with people, because yes, we are all a slave to the algorithm when we're creating content, and this type of content doesn't get a lot of exposure. So I would appreciate any shares. All right, so again, 3 campaigns running right now. Top campaign is a lookalike campaign. Second campaign is a retargeting campaign. Third campaign is a cold interest campaign. So I'm just going to analyze the data. This is where we've been basically, I'll just do the 26th to be sure. But I'm kind of just looking at this month's data, honestly, from December, because we didn't really spend much money in November. I probably shared it on the last video, but last month, 100 bucks, right? So for ease of reporting, I'm just going to look at this month. The top one is the lookalike one, which is our worst performing one. So I'm going to go in here. Now, again, the product that we have is $47. The average order value is about 50 to 60 bucks. Right now, because we have the back end upsell, I'm kind of happy to get purchases below $100. So again, we really are just like still very early on in the testing phase, and we're not spending that much money. So, there's only going to be a limited amount of stuff that we can do. So I'm just going to look through the data, and then if I turn something off, great. If I don't, then we'll save it for the next video. So as you can see, campaigns at a total, we're getting close to that $100 mark. So in my mind right now, that metric that I have is if it spends $100 and it doesn't get a sale, then I'm going to turn it off, right? It's kind of double the starting product price. I kind of know our numbers a little bit on the back end conversion and what's going to be profitable for us. I think a really safe number for us to start with is to say that, purchases under $100, we can keep them running and see if we can optimize and improve. So you can see right now, obviously this campaign, it's got no purchases, but the whole campaign I haven't spent $100 yet. And again, if you look further in, you can see that I have turned one of the ads off previously. We've got 2 ads running, but none of these ads themselves have actually spent more than 50 bucks. So it's not even the price of the front end product. So obviously we should keep these running. I'm just drinking my green tea and honey. If you guys know, side note, if you guys know the original Ziz, I suppose there's only one Ziz. He was like the OG fitness influencer, got me drinking green tea. And then I believe it was Dan Locke. I was like learning sales and I was a closer for a coaching company. So I was watching a lot of Dan Locke content in like 2018. And he was like, the drink of a closer is green tea and honey. We don't drink coffee. Now, I'm a frigging coffee addict, but I do like a bit of green tea and honey as well because it tastes good. So that's what I'm drinking for those of you who are interested, which is probably none of you. So we'll move on to the actual good stuff. So you can see here that, look, none of these ads individually have spent over 50 bucks. So I'm probably not going to turn them off. I have turned this one off and it got to $31. Again, I'm not following my own rule. Why? Well, if I look at the rest of the ads, the click-through rate is lower than everything else. And the cost per click is nearly $4. So this is a lot higher than the rest of the ads within the ad set. It spent $30, right? So it's not as if it's only spent $5 and I'm turning it off prematurely. It is, it's spent a decent amount of money. And if we look, again, if we're looking at the numbers, 0.87% click-through rate, $4 cost per click. There's no checkout, right? No one's hit the checkout, even though it spent $30. If we look at the average across the other campaign, now this is our best performing campaign, which I'll look in a second here. The average click-through rate across the whole campaign, not even the best performing ads, but just the average is 1.49. The cost per click is below $3, and the checkout is $24. So already we have a kind of benchmark of what we're aiming for. And after $30, this individual ad is way off it. And that's why I decided to turn it off, because I'm just like, I just don't feel like it's going to recover because it's very far off kind of like the metrics that I'm looking for. And the other 2 ads within the ad set, specifically this top one, is doing pretty well. Under $3 cost per click. Checkout is $20, which is strong, compared to the rest of the numbers. So I'm like, well, I'd just rather give more budget to this. So this is why I decided to turn this individual ad off. And I'll just go through the same ones, each individual one. You can see I've turned this one off again. Why did I turn this one off? Well, again, it's a little bit different scenario. This one has only spent $8, but it didn't even get 1 click. So I'm just like, if it's got an $8 cost per click and there's other ad sets within the ad that are getting like $2 to $3 cost per click, I'm just going to turn it off and let these try and optimize a little bit quicker, which is what I've done here. I'm not going to turn this one off today, but you can see this individual ad here, similar to the last ad we turned off, $30. Click-through rate isn't as low as the last one, but it's 0.99, so it's not super high, and the cost per click is getting pretty high. So I'm not going to turn this off today, but probably tomorrow, if it's not improved or got better results, then I'll probably turn this off, but I'll just leave it on for now. And then this one here as well. All of these are still on. You can see that the two ads that have had the most budget, $43 and $27, you can see that they're both getting checkouts for under $30, which is good. Cost per click is below $3, which is good. Now the click-through rate is pretty bad, right? The click-through rate is pretty trash, honestly. But the rest of the metrics are good, so I'm not too bothered about the click-through rate. So I'm probably going to keep this live. Again, this has only spent $7. Click-through rate really low. Cost per click is really high. It doesn't really matter, honestly, if I keep this going or not. I'm going to turn it off, I think, because cost per click is high. It's not really getting it much budget anyway. Click-through rate is really low, so I'll probably just turn this one off, honestly. But it wouldn't have made a big difference if I left it on, because it's not really getting much of the budget. Now, you can see here that the click-through rate across the board, and this one in particular is really low, but you can see across the board, the click-through rate for our lookalike audiences is pretty low, but our cost per click is high. If you look here, click-through rate is 0.79. Now the rest are all about 1.5 plus. And the cost per click is over $3, and these are under $3. And the reason why is because basically the CPM is cheaper. So you can see here that the $24 is cheaper CPM compared to the other two. So I'm not too bothered about the click-through rate too much because the cost per click is higher, but it's not drastically higher. And the click-through rate is lower, but the CPM is cheaper. And that's why the cost per click isn't too big of a difference. This is definitely so far the worst performing one. So I'm not super confident in the lookalikes right now. Because again, these lookalikes are off our previous data. They're not off buyers of this product we're trying to sell or initiate checkouts of this product we're trying to sell. So that's why maybe that the lookalike audience aren't performing well because the lookalikes are off different data points. Now, when we get to a point where we've had over 1,000 customers buy this low ticket product, or we've had over 1,000 people visit the checkout page, then I can start creating lookalikes off of those data points, and I think those lookalikes are going to perform much better. But again, I don't want to. What I would probably do if I had a bigger budget is just launch a load more lookalikes and do more testing. But for now, we're spending about $120 to $130 a day, so I'm not going to put more into lookalikes just yet because the other two campaigns are performing better. So what I've got here is this is our retargeting campaign. So you can see I launched a couple of these yesterday that have started performing. Now, retargeting can be a bit of a funny one because retargeting really just depends. Retargeting really just depends on the audience size, and there's a lot of there's different variables. What that means is basically that you can't really judge it on the same metrics as the cold campaigns. And what I mean by metrics, I mean CPM, click-through rate, and cost per click. Obviously, you're going to judge it the same when it comes to purchases because you're not just going to run retargeting campaigns to lose money. But what you'll find is that the CPM, depending on the audience size, is either a lot higher or sometimes lower, but most of the time it's going to be a lot higher because it's a smaller, more confined audience. But you'll also find that the click-through rate is a lot higher because these people should be warm and already know who you are. And that's what we're seeing kind of translate into the numbers here. But because the CPM is so high, even though the click-through rate is good, the CPM is really high. The lookalike audience CPM was $24. This one in particular is $80, right? So it's what's that, 4 times, 3 times, 4 times? So if I was in a lookalike audience campaign or a cold audience campaign and my CPMs were $20 to $30, but one of them was $80 and it wasn't performing well, then I'd probably turn it off because I'm this is just more expensive. But because this is a retargeting campaign, we have to judge it a little bit differently. but I'm still going to judge it on obviously the CPA. When it comes to cost per click, usually you don't mind paying a higher cost per click for retargeting campaigns. That's pretty normal sometimes. Again, it depends. We have some retargeting campaigns, not in this account, but for our clients, and the cost per click is really low because they have hundreds of thousands of people in that audience, and the CPMs are cheap. And obviously, because they already have a relationship with that audience, people are clicking very easily. So it kind of depends. But usually when you have a smaller audience, your cost per click will be higher, but the conversion should be higher as well. So you can see here, $4.29, this is a high cost per click, but we've got a sale through, so it's not too bad. So these two here, I'm not even going to go into them. We're only spending $10 a day, and they've literally just been running for 24 hours. So there's nothing that I'm going to be changing inside of those two, so I'm not even going to go into it in this video. Now, looking at this one individually, you can see, again, our CPA of $80 is high, right? Even though I'm happy to get it under $100 for now, I still want it a little bit lower. But when you go into the individual ad section, now you can see a big difference. You can see here that these free ads have been spending pretty similar amount, but the numbers are pretty dramatically different. So for example, this one has got a really good click-through rate, the lowest cost per click, but the initiate checkout is pretty high. And then I have this one at the top here, where the click-through rate is under 2%, right? Cost per click $4, which is high, but everyone's frigging going to the checkout, and one person bought for $30. So this is profitable. So that's why I turned this one off, just because I was like, initiate checkout is high, and this is insanely low. $5 for a checkout, like I'm buzzing with that. So like, I just want this to have more budget. So yesterday I just turned this bottom one off because I'm just like, even though this could become profitable, I want this to get more momentum because it's getting such cheap checkouts right now, and it's also got a sale. So that's why I turned the bottom one off. If none of these has had a sale yet, then maybe I would have kept this bottom one on. But the fact that this had a sale, checkout was so low, the cost per checkout was so low, I'm just going to try and put as much budget into this as possible. I think overnight, this middle one has spent a little bit more money. What should I do here? Would I turn this off? Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably leave this on for another day. I'll probably leave this on for another day and see what the numbers are, but I could very easily turn this off. But I don't want to mess around with the ad set too much because, you know, it's only spent $21, so I'll probably leave it for another day and see more of the budget. So keep that one on. And then this one, we've got all of the ads still on, fairly even split. All the numbers are probably the best. This is probably the best performing one. This is our email list. So it's kind of like, you know, these people have already opted into our email list. So this is usually a really good retargeting campaign, obviously, and you can see that reflected in the numbers. Cost per click is lower than all the other retargeting campaigns, and the cost per initiate checkout is a lot lower as well. So this is solid. I'm going to leave all of these on. All of the numbers are good right now, and no one's bought yet, so that's obviously not good. But yeah, look, all of these have spent less than $50. So any of these get a sale over the next couple of days, then one of them, they're going to be profitable. So I'll just leave all of them on for now. Now, the first two campaigns, so now I'm going to go into the cold interest campaign. So this is our best performing campaign. You can see that I launched a couple of these the other day. They've only spent $20 each. So they have like the top one is looking pretty good in terms of cost per click. This bottom second one here doesn't look that good. Click-through rate is low, cost per click is high. I'll leave it for another day, and then basically what I'll do, well, I'll go into this one now, and if I have an ad, I mean, it's just spent too little, so I can't really judge, but this one, for example, I'm going to leave it for another day, but I could very easily come in and turn this off. It's only spent $10, which is why I'm going to leave it on, but as you can see, click-through rate super low, cost per click really friggin' high. I don't care what friggin' niche you're in or info product you're trying to sell, nobody wants to see an $11 cost per click in their ads manager. So yeah, I'll probably leave this for another day because it's literally just been launched, but Very could easily come in and turn this off, but the other two look decent. So that's not too bad. Maybe when I turn that third ad off, the rest of the ad set will start to perform better, but I'm just going to leave it for another day. Then you've got these ones here. So obviously we've got a couple of campaigns that are doing all right. This one's got a sale for $80, $40. So this one from the ad set level is already profitable, which is awesome. Now, when you dive into this one, you can see that, which is good. You've got 2 of the ads that have generated a sale, which is freaking awesome. And this one is $10 cost per click, right? Which is super high, right? The click-through rate, awful. It's awful. All of these metrics are bad. But the one metric that actually matters is the cost per purchase, and it's for $32. So I'm keeping it in. Also, I know that Facebook data isn't 100% accurate. When we increase the budget and we start to spend more money, we will use Hyros. But for now, limited traffic, Facebook will do. Anyway, so yeah, this is obviously looking good. The only ad that isn't profitable technically is this one, and it's only spent $5. So, I'm just going to leave it because, I could turn this off and let the budget go to the other two, but, I don't want to mess up with the algorithm or anything like that because both of these are looking good. So I'm going to leave this on, let it spend a few more. And basically what I did is I duplicated this one a couple of days ago, and I found 2 different interests that were similar to it, which is what I did here. So I found that this was a good interest, duplicated it, found 2 similar ones, and I launched those. So let's see how they go. But all of these interests are all pretty similar because I know this niche pretty well. This one, if I go into this one, again, this ad, profitable, awesome. This one has been turned off. Honestly, don't know why this one got turned off because the underlying numbers are pretty good. The click-through rate is high. The cost per click is the lowest out of all of the ads. And, nothing's bad with the CPM. The spend is only $33. I don't know why this is turned off. Maybe the numbers look different when I turned it off. I really don't know. But I'm not going to turn it back on just because this top one has a sale. And, if this one keeps performing as it is, then happy days. But yeah, don't know why this one is off. Sometimes Facebook can do that, man. It's like, you'll go in one day, you'll analyze the data, you'll turn stuff off, make decisions. You go in the next day, and then the data is kind of backtracked and it's updated a little bit. So yeah, it is what it is. But if this ad at the top here hadn't had a sale, and I'm like, oh shit, we spent $80 and no sales, then maybe I would have turned this one back on. But because this one is already, seems to be working a little bit, I'm just going to keep it on, and then I'll make a decision after that. This one probably similar to the other one that's performing well. 2 sales across 2 ads. And yeah, you can see this one, interestingly, this ad spent most of the budget. $70 on this one ad and no sales. And the checkout was $70, which is obviously way too high. Cost per click is high. So I'm just turning it off, right? If these 2 are getting sales, then I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to spend money on this one. I'm just going to spend it to this one. So I just turn that one off. That makes sense. And then these 2. So these have both spent over $100, right? So we're getting into that territory of, okay, I'm just going to turn it off. This one in particular looks like it could be okay because the cost per initiate checkout is so low. It's $17, which is below the average here. This one is $33, which is above the average. And the cost per click is high. The click-through rate is low. And the CPM is the same as the average. So this one in particular probably doesn't look that good. So let's have a look at this one. Well, you can see here, I've already turned 2 of the ads off, right? This bottom one, $20, 1 click, cost per click, $20. No one wants to see that. Turned it off. Second ad, $53, not got a sale. Cost per click higher than the average. Cost per initiate checkout higher than the average. And when I say average, I mean the average in here, right? The initiate checkout is $24. The cost per click is $2.80. If we look at this one, higher than that, it's not looking good. And the one above this was getting decent numbers. So that's why I turned this one off, because this cost per click is below average. The cost per initiate checkout is below average. So I'm going to let this run for a few more days, and hopefully this top ad will get a sale. If it doesn't, then I'll just shut the whole ad set off. And then with this one, similar story, this one, metrics were too high, cost per click, initiate checkout, spent $40, turned it off because I had other ads within the ad set that were hitting good numbers. You can see here, 3% click-through rate, cost per click low, cost per initiate checkout lower than the average of the ad set. So I just don't want this to spend more money. I'm going to put more money into that. So, that is the analysis. And remember, like in the beginning, you can look at your ad sets and your campaigns and you're like, oh man, like I spent $500 and I've only made 5 sales, So for me, I think my ROAS is about 0.6. I should show you the numbers. I did another video on my channel though. I don't even know if it's released right now, a diaries episode where I talked about the ROAS. I think it was 0.59. And in the beginning, it sucks, right? Because I'm like, I've only made like $300 back and I've spent 500. And that's not even all, right? I'm like talking, if we look at the whole thing for December, we spent 950 and we've got about $600 back. I think maybe even less. I can't remember. Maybe the ROAS is lower today because we haven't generated a sale today yet. So, the ROAS, I probably made half of this back. Probably made about $400 back. I'll get the numbers to share properly on the next video like this. In the beginning, it's like, oh, damn, we're losing money. But you got to look at the actual granular data. Like you can't just analyze the ad account from the campaign level or even the ad set level, right? Like looking at the numbers, I can kind of tell that this one probably won't work that well. But then when you go into this one, you're like, oh shit, man, like this is working pretty well. So the whole goal of the testing phase isn't to find like an ad set that's performing and hitting all the main metrics. It's to find the individual ads, right? And that's all I'm really doing. Right now, if you look at my ad scaling document from the last video, like I'm in the testing phase in phase 1. So I'm trying to find the interests that are working well, and then I'm doing one test at the ad level to see which ad works the best, right? So for example, like I'm jumping into all of the ads in this campaign right now, and I'll just like sort it by like amount spent, or you can sort it by like purchases. And, I'm blurring out the ads for confidentiality, but you can see this is video 3, this is video 1, this is video 3, this is video 1, this is video 2. So right now, video 1 and video 3 are winning. And the whole goal of this part of the testing phase is, again, identify the winning audiences, which we're doing at the ad set level. And at the ad level, I'm identifying the best creative. And in this case, it is the best video. And the goal is that after the testing phase, I'll have a list of audiences that are working well. Then I'll run phase 2, which is test number 2, and I'll take the best performing creatives and I'll split test it with more copy. I'll make new video variations of the best ones, and I'll test all of that to try and optimize and improve further. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, then again, like I mentioned earlier, would appreciate a share because the algorithm doesn't like these types of videos. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.